was remodeling my house. Was looking at the next door neighbor who was doing it, and he was saying, I told him what they were paying for that, and he'd start laughing and say, they're getting ripped off. He said, because the cost of that is. So in these narrow industry, everybody knows what everybody's making. Ferragamo can look at Prada shoes and know exactly what all the parts were, what the labor, what everything is. Because it's just so well known. It's just so standard. That makes sense? Okay, automobile industry, everybody knows what everybody else is paying for everything. There's that computer that somebody wants to give away to everybody in Africa, or sell for a $100 computer. Yeah. They can't get it to $100, right? You can get it to 126 or something. Everybody knows exactly what everything else costs in a given field, right? So that's what protects the consumers. One of the, I think it's probably the main protection of the consumer is competition. Is the guy breathing down. Here on page 30 is the letter of credit. Don't worry about letters of credit. Don't spend a lot of time on it. Ask if they give seminars, and then don't go. Just find out who's teaching it and go meet with them. Because I think they're going to be defunct real soon. But if you ever have to do a letter of credit, here's this figure 18 is me filling out the letter of credit. Your banker will help you fill it out. Figure 19 is what the bank sends to the bank overseas. Real simple stuff. The letters of credit are created, the rules called the Uniform Commercial Practices, and I think it's up to like 550 now. They set up new rules. The rule makers is the International Commerce Commission? I forget. It's based in Paris. It's a group of banks. The rules are written by banks for the banks. You will never sue a bank. You will never find a bank making an error. You'll never find a bank in a position where they've made an error, okay? Because the rules are written for them, by them. They're not going to take any risks. There's a book out by Matti Kurkkola on letters of credit. It's out of print. I bought one from a library on Amazon. They were getting rid of it or whatever. And it's a great summary of letters of credit and all the problems. And he surveys lawsuits all over the world. No banks don't lose on letters of credit ever. So it's like the casinos.
So I'm not so clear on how you make it that it doesn't fit the one what they did.
Well, when you fill out the letter of credit form, that gets sent over to the supplier overseas. The supplier overseas has to comply with everything that's on there. If they make a mistake, like they forget to dot an I, or they put a space in your name, and that's the documents that come back, your bank will say, the documents aren't in order. And that, you no longer have to worry about it. Now, if the documents are, and Brenda McKelvey told me, 80% failure rate on letters of credit. 80%. But all that says is most people say I accept the exceptions because it's relationship. On the other hand, if the documents are perfect and the shipment on the docks, after you've paid for it and all that, and you open up the shipment and it's newspapers, not shoes, you have no recourse to the bank. You got burned and the bank had nothing to do with it. Okay. So it is not security. Letters of credit are not security. Again, they're sold as security, but they are not security. Yes?
Just relating to that, since you brought it up again, back on your bill of lading, it talks about the shipment being owned by the person who shipped it all the way to your dock. And given that the money is changing hands well before that, is that a problem? Is that something you need to make arrangements
Yes.
for?
Responsibility. Title transfer responsibility. In the United States, title transfers when the good is put on the back of the common carrier. When I, the supplier, put the goods on the UPS truck, title is transferred. That's not true in international trade. So we have a problem in international trade. When the goods are loaded onto a truck here, if it's Ex Works, title has not transferred, but responsibility has. So if there's a problem, the truck breaks down on Nathan Road on its way to the harbor in Hong Kong. It's my problem. I get a call at 3 o'clock in the morning. Hey, you're blocking traffic on Nathan Road. Do something about it. Well, I don't want that problem. So I want it at least sitting on the ship in Hong Kong. Okay? So I'm responsible here, or here if this is the price base, or here if this is the price basis. I'm responsible for the shipment, but I haven't paid for it yet. Title hasn't transferred. So what I'm careful to do is in every case, make sure that the shipment gets to a US port and is unloaded before I actually pay. Now, even though it's unloaded, I still don't get to look at the goods. I don't get to look until I've paid. That you'll never get around. There's no way around that. So, but once I've paid, then I've got responsibility and title. So there's a profound difference in international trade versus domestic trade. Title transfers when you make the shipment, and you make the shipment by putting it on the goods. International trade, that's not true. Title doesn't transfer, it usually doesn't transfer to the last minute. Okay? Unless you prepay for the goods, or then they'll give you the title and at the same time as they're shipping. So, and the reasons for this go back 600-700 years or longer. But anyway, go ahead.
So you just order based on CNF pricing, if at all possible.
On what pricing?
You call it CNF, cost and freight.
That would be one. I would base it on what everybody else does. So your customs broker says, oh, everybody does FOB. Okay, then I'll do FOB.
Yeah, let's say you're stuck in a situation where you have to do exports, is there something your broker can do or something your ship can do?
You're in a situation where you're exporting from the United States?
No, if you're importing something and you have, for whatever reason, you have to go with exports, so it's yours over there. Is there insurance you can buy? Is there anything that you can do or is it not worth it?
Well, you want insurance in the shipments, and I get into this in the book, Marine Insurance, because have you all read that far? Marine insurance is an amazing little aspect of this. But let me ask the first part of your question first. Yes, you would insure the shipment from whatever point because you've got responsibility for it, even though you don't have title. And that brings up the issue, which is in the book, but I'll cover it right now. 3,000 containers on a ship. When the ship's going across the North Pacific in the winter, the steamship line will jettison cargo if there's any sort of problems. Sometimes it's a big wave comes over and knocks off some. Sometimes maybe smoke, and they'll unlash it and push it overboard. All sorts of things that happen when they'll jettison cargo. That's why they find thousands of Nikes on the Oregon coast. They did as a matter of fact, there's National Geographic did an article on a science project based on some university where they find things on shores around the world, and then they check this hockey glove against ship's logs of where they jettison the cargo, GPS numbers there, and then they look at the time and they track ocean streams. It's a great cheap way of doing that. So it happens regularly. And the longshoremen, when a ship comes in, there'll be containers hanging off the side, and it's the longshoreman's job to get it off, even when it's being hanged by cables off the side. So if a container of Nikes is jettisoned or goes overboard, who is out? Well, in marine insurance, everybody else on the vessel is out. If your goods are not lost, you have to pay for Nike's loss. They call it general average and say, okay, everybody else has to make good Nike's loss. So when you buy marine insurance, it's not for fear your goods will be lost. If your goods are lost, you're covered. You buy marine's insurance so that when the Nikes go overboard, you will be presented a bill, and you will not be allowed to take your goods until you paid the bill. So you want to be able to, if you ever get handed a bill for marine insurance, for general average, you want to take that bill and hand it over to the insurance company. Now, marine insurance is like going to McDonald's and ordering a burger. Would you like fries with that? It's automatic, right? Okay, same thing with as soon as you hire a customs broker, it's going to be, would you like insurance with that? And the answer is yes, because this is one of your costs, is get marine insurance on everything. So you've got responsibility, and even though you don't have title, you're taken care of. You're making sure that if there's any loss, you're covered.
Când te văd mă pierd cu firea, nu pot stăpâni privirea. Dansezi bine, ești mortală și cu frumusețea ta îi bași pe toți în goală. Orice bărbat te dorește, când te vede nebunește. Ți-ar da bani, ți-ar da orice, ți-ar da și ca